Now, you ask about the situation in the Arab world vis-a-vis Turkey. The situation is grave. Turkey is a NATO member. Turkey is a military ally of Israel. That didn't change, by the way. However big the mandate Prime Minister Erdogan achieved, he never broke his military alliance with Israel. He has political and diplomatic relations with Israel, and he's a member state of NATO, the war alliance led by the United States of America. Turkey occupied Syria for 400 years and occupied virtually all of the Arab world for 400 years. And I don't think the Arabs are ready again to live under Turkish domination, Turkish occupation. At least I hope not, though some may be prepared to do so. After all, they're happy enough, some of them, to live under American occupation and domination. But this exchange of fire, which is now several days old, between Turkey and Syria, and these emergency meetings that are taking place amongst the NATO leadership, are pregnant with terrible problems. Because if Turkey enters Syria, it will enter a swamp, it will enter a quagmire out of which it will find it very difficult to withdraw. Syria is not Libya. It's not a question of knocking out a dictator and then you can reshape the landscape, although they don't seem to be doing a terribly good job about that. If you enter Syria, you have to be ready to fight. You have to be ready to fight against the religious minorities, the ethnic minorities, the supporters of the Syrian regime. You have to be ready to face and confront Syria's international allies, Russia, China, Iran, and its local allies, the national resistance movement in Lebanon, Hezbollah. Turkey will have to fight them all one way or another, either militarily or by proxy. Is Turkey really ready for that? I doubt that. If you look at the vote in the Turkish parliament, there was a very significant minority of Turkish MPs who were against Turkey going effectively into military operations against Syria. Inside the Turkish military, which contains many elements that are not friendly to Erdogan at all, there is considerable resistance to a war with Syria amongst the Turkish military. The Kurdish problem in Turkey is a very considerable problem. They have their hands already full with this Kurdish question. Do they want to add a new war to the Kurdish war? I think that's a very serious mistake, not least because there's one ally I didn't mention of Syria, and that is the new power in Iraq. The new power in Iraq is not a part of this alliance against Syria. And what will be the impact on the Kurdish question in the north of Iraq if Turkey is at war with Syria? You begin to see the terrifying complexity of all of this. I myself do not believe either that NATO will invade Syria or that Turkey will invade Syria. I think it's important that we cool down what was an accidental exchange of fire in the first place. Syria did not intend, I'm sure, unless they completely lost their mind, to land shells on a Turkish village and kill people in Turkey. It has enough problems of its own. It was an accident. And the irony is, Syria is now being lectured that it must respect the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Turkey. What about Turkey respecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Syria? Turkey is a base camp for an armed insurrection against Syria, its neighbor. Yet the United Nations is allowing that whilst condemning Syria for not respecting the territorial integrity and sovereignty of Turkey. It's ridiculous. Each country should respect the territorial integrity of each other and the sovereignty of each other. As long as one side is routinely violating the sovereignty and integrity of Syria, what is Syria supposed to do? So it's time to cool this down. It's time for the Arabs to call a halt to this war in Syria and to facilitate the Kofi Annan plan, which is still extant and which remains the only peaceful way that this matter can be resolved. A peaceful transition to democracy in Syria without foreign intervention and without extremism being imported into Syria, a land of 23 or 25 different religious and ethnic sects and nationalities. That's a very, very explosive mixture, and people shouldn't casually throw fire on top of that mixture. Thank you very much. Nyaji, let me thank you for your questions, but I've got a big queue of people waiting to talk to me now on Kalima Hurra on Al Mayadeen. Thank you very much indeed.